Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Engler Journey podcast. I'm your host, Olivia Vanderford, and today I have an Engler member here who is adding new ideas to her family business, Sarah Treffer, right?
Yes.
So it's so nice to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, I know. So when we were talking, I know you said you had a horse named Ariel, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so why was she so special to you?
Yes. So I've had a lot of special horses throughout my life. I've been really lucky to have, a good group of horses to ride, but Ariel was really the first one I ever rode. She was bred and raised at our ranch and then trained by my mom, so that's all really special just in that. And she is a really pretty bay and white mare, so I always loved her because of how pretty she is, but she was just the one I grew up riding. Me and my best friend kind of like to laugh and joke now because we were always the two little girls that were running laps around everybody in the Western Pleasure Arena on our paint mares.
Yeah.
They maybe weren't the most naturally talented for that Western Pleasure class, but they really taught us a lot. So I think everybody's first horse is probably one of their favorites because they teach you so many lessons early on. And then Ariel's just always been so dependable. She's kind of one where, like, if you came and rode horses at our place, she'd be one that we would put you on. She's really safe for everybody and has taught so many young kids to ride. So
yes, I know. That's good having a safe horse because I know when my
Yes.
mom was little, she was riding a horse and she fell off the back and broke her arm.
Yeah, there are stories like that.
So there are stories with horses. But so do you have any favorite memories or special memories with being with your horse and riding, or maybe with your mom or anything?
Yeah, there's a lot of memories because that's what I grew up doing, loving doing, and everybody in my family rides, whether we're working cattle or going on trail rides or showing horses. We really enjoy all of it. And so, some of my favorite memories when I was really young was riding around and racing in our round pen. My brother really wanted to be a jockey, so he'd put his goggles on and his hat and his football jersey with his jockey saddle, and we would race laps in the round pen while I was on my little pony. So that was always fun, and there's some good pictures and memories from that. And then I'd say kind of a big memory that I always really cherish dearly is my family would go to the Halsey National Forest every year, and we would take part in the trail ride there. It'd be, a 100 horse plus trail ride. So that was really cool because that forest was just so beautiful before it burnt down. And, some years it was 30 degrees and snowing, and some years it was 80 degrees. So we got to experience it all, but, people were there no matter the weather and was just there to fellowship with one another and enjoy something that we all doing. So that's kind of something that I hope to bring back to life eventually someday because I know how special it was to so many people and is something I personally really enjoyed doing, so I'd like to get that started again eventually.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you said you're a twin, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so are you pretty similar? Are you different?
I'd say, if you ask people, I would say people think that we're similar, but also, very different skill sets, and our minds work a little bit differently as well, but we get along really well now. I can't say that was always true, but I'd say as we've gotten older, we've gotten to be pretty good friends. So he's a lot of fun to do things with, and he's helped me out a lot in college, and I hope he kind of thinks the same about me and helping him out. But it's fun to have a twin for sure.
For sure, yeah, I know. And so you and your twin, you're both very interested in horses, right? He's more the genetic side, you're more the creative side. So let's talk about your business then. So it's a family business, right? And you're from a ranch, and it started in 1957, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have a long history in the ranching business with your family, but you're trying to bring these new ideas back, right? With horses and selling horses. So could you talk about that?
Yes. Yeah, so like you said, it started in 1957 with our registered Angus cattle, and then in 1967 is when AQHA really came into my family's lives. They bought a Palomino horse for about $200, which is kind of crazy because there's no way,
You'd sell a horse for that.
Yeah, it is just crazy. You could not do that anymore. But so bought our first one for $200, and then it's kind of grown from there. My grandpa and my uncles have periodically built really nice horses and herds throughout the years. So, and then my dad met my mom, and she brought the paint horse side into it. She kind of brought the paint horse genetics. So it's been something that's been going for a long time. And to me, that legacy and history is really important to keep going. Tom Field will talk about it a lot in what he says about family business is about how, they kind of drop off after that 2 generations. So that's something that's really important to me to help continue growing. And like you said, both my brother and I are really passionate about the horse side of things. So he's a animal science pre-vet student, so he'll be going to vet school in the 2+2 UNL Iowa State program this next year. So he just got in, so that's super exciting.
Great. Yeah.
Yes, so he definitely likes the science things more, and specifically repro. So he really likes the breeding side of things. And then I definitely like kind of the more creative side, the marketing and sales, and have some ideas of how we can do a better job of marketing our horses and selling them and getting them trained. So I think our different career paths and our different skill sets there will work really well together to kind of build the business back again and make it successful. So, and we have a lot of other family members, that help out on the ranch and are a part of it. It truly is a family operation. And so that's really fun to have everybody be a part of it and bring so many different, ideas and skills to it as well.
Yeah, and I know you grew up in 4-H,
Yes.
So you grew up showing horses, always around horses. So what's the process that you're looking at as bringing this business to life with selling the horses and the entire process of raising the horses? Do you raise them from birth? Do you get the horses from somebody? How does that look?
Yes, so for us, we have a group of brood mares. So our brood mares are the ones that will breed, and we used to have our own stud, but he passed away probably 5 to 10 years ago. I can't remember exactly, but since then we have been using other people's studs for our mares, and so we go get them bred, and then we'll keep them in a pasture, and they'll foal out themselves on the pasture, and we'll train them a little bit, do the groundwork type of things from there, and then we'll either sell them, as yearlings, or we will keep them on hand for a little bit and send them to a trainer once they're 2-3 years old, and get them started before selling them or working on them more ourselves. So that's kind of how that goes, I guess. Is we kind of do everything ourselves besides the stud part. We don't have a standing stud ourselves right now. So hopefully eventually we can get back to breeding a really good one ourselves and then keeping him for the genetics.
Yeah, wow, that's all over my head.
It is kind of confusing, but yes.
Yeah. I admire people that can do those things that you're doing, you and your brother. So talking about horses more again, what do you think some of the main challenges are with raising horses? Like, what are some of the most hard things about it, I guess?
I think there's a lot of challenges that come with animals because they are living creatures, so it's really a tough business to be in. So, obviously you have your markets, which, go up and down, so that's a challenge as well, and then finding buyers. But I think, kind of a real challenge is taking care of those horses. Horses tend to get hurt, for some reason. It seems like if they could get hurt, they will get hurt, or if they could get sick, that will happen. So really working to taking good care of them and protecting them. And, my dad and my family does a really good job of working hard to take those horses to the vet and then caring for them afterwards. There's, they do a really good job of just animal husbandry and taking care of them. But I think that's a challenge. And then also just the breeding part is a challenge too, because you need to make sure that they're in foal for that process to happen. So that sometimes is a challenge for us too, is to get that initial breeding done.
Yeah. And what do you love most about raising horses?
Yeah. I think anybody loves horses. I think horses are a hard animal to not like.
Yeah.
So I really love horses because I think it's so fun to see them go from when they're born and they're little to growing up to be mature horses. I have one right now that's about 3 years old, so I have some pictures of him when he was just born or when he was just a yearling, and they kind of go through that ugly duck phase where they're not really attractive yet, but now it's fun to see him as he's really grown into his body and is a nice looking stout horse. So I think that's really fun to see them grow up and to see their personalities. They all have different personalities, so they're just really fun.
Yeah, and with your business, you probably also enjoy helping your customers with their ranching or maybe
Yes,
with
absolutely.
showing horses. Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
I think that's a big part of it. We ranch ourselves and then we raise ranch horses. So it's really rewarding to raise horses that are built to go work on the ranch and then sell them to go do that job and do that job well for other ranchers in the state of Nebraska or beyond even. So it's really fun to see how they go and do those things. We've had people reach out through Facebook and just online back to us when they see our brand on our horse and they're like, oh, this is our horse we have, and we got him here, and they tell us their life story.
Yeah.
So that's really fun to see that horse's life story after they left our ranch. So that's really fun.
Yeah, so it's kind of just really a community thing with your business and building that connection. And in the Engler program, it's all about connections too.
Yes.
So in entrepreneurship, let's switch to that now.
Okay.
So talking about the Engler program, I know a lot of members have been in 4-H and FFA, and that's really helped them with their businesses. Talking about the 4-H that you've been a part of in Nebraska, what experiences have you had with that, and how has that helped you with your business?
Yes, absolutely. 4-H was a huge part of my life. My dad was our county extension agent, so he was in extension for 43 years. So I grew up being an arena rat and running around the county fair and all of those things, which I'm sure a lot of people did, but I was really fully immersed in it because of my dad's job. But I was involved in pretty much everything, whether it was sewing or we talked about photography a little bit earlier too, to showing cattle, to showing horses, to even doing speeches and demos and weed ID. So I did it all, which I think really helped me a lot. I like to know, and I think it's really good to know a little bit about everything. Having that well-rounded mindset, I think, has helped me a lot in life in different areas. So I think 4-H just taught me so many different skills that way, but just overall so many life skills too. How to work together as a team, how to win, how to lose. I think all of those things are really important too, and then how to adapt, which I think is something that Engler also hits a lot on, is how do you pivot. We talk a lot about pivoting, so kind of how do you pivot when maybe a project doesn't work out the first time you do it, and pivot and try something else. So I think, like you said, Engler and 4-H go pretty well together, and I would say that both teach you a lot of similar skills in terms of, that grit or all of those things as well.
Yeah, and it's all about trying new things in the Engler program too. That's what we encourage students to do, is to try many different things, and that's kind of what 4-H teaches you too.
Yes, absolutely. I would totally agree.
Yeah. So, talking more about Engler, I know that you've really enjoyed this program. What have been some of your favorite experiences you've had from the program?
I think one of my favorite experiences that I just talked in my senior video about was the Tom Fields family business class. I think that was kind of a light bulb moment for me. I came into Engler thinking I had to come up with something completely new, which, like you said, that is encouraged, come up with your new idea. But Tom Fields family business class really put into perspective how valuable having a family operation is, and how you can use your passion for that and you can bring new ideas to it. So kind of like we talked about earlier, that's what I'm hoping to do with my family operation. I just realized that there's something I'm really passionate about already right in front of me. So I should take advantage of that opportunity, there. So just instead of starting something brand new, how can I bring my new ideas and my unique skill set to it to make it better? So I think that's kind of been one of my favorite Engler memories and something that's been really beneficial for me. And then I've always enjoyed the pitch competitions as well. I think they are very nerve-wracking, I will say, but they are a lot of fun. I did the $50 business class one and had fun doing that. And then I also did a little pitch for my 388 class too. So I thought those were really great ways to kind of sum up your business. I don't know if you've taken 388 or 488 yet.
But I have.
Yeah, we were doing it together, obviously. But you do all that work on those business plans. So then really condensing all of that work into, a 2 to 3 minute speech, I think is an important skill to have, your elevator pitch of your business. So I like the pitch competitions too.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we have so many amazing speakers that come in too. Did you ever have a favorite speaker that came, then talked to Engler?
I was here when John Cook came, so that was really fun to hear him talk about how he uses some of the ideas from his work with horses in his volleyball coaching career as well. So that was kind of cool to see the overlap there. I think so many things in our life overlap, and we kind of don't even think about it. But there's so many different skills that you might learn while doing volleyball that you can take out into doing maybe in your career or vice versa.
Yeah, and I can definitely see the parallel, working with horses, volleyball, the discipline that it takes, really.
Yes.
So, yeah, I can definitely see that with you. We're being in college and working with horses. You definitely have that determination, and you're going to succeed. I know you will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I love hearing more about your Engler experiences. So I have another question for you. Talking about businesses, though, what do you think is so important about going back to your hometown and having a business? Does that help communities thrive?
Yes, absolutely. I think, so many people in the Engler program really came from rural communities and want to go back to the rural communities, and I think that is awesome because that helps the rural communities not only economically but just as a community as well, growing that community atmosphere with those small businesses. So I think that's really fun to see. And I actually grew up in Lexington, and I'm sure you've heard about the Tyson closure.
Yeah.
So that's something that's taken a big hit on our community, and I know they're talking a lot about some different ways that they can bring in new businesses or have some small businesses that can really boost that economy and provide maybe some more jobs for those people as well. So that just kind of shows me how important it is to, go back to those communities and to play a part in shaping them as well.
Yeah, and it really shows how small communities can pull together in times of crisis.
Yes,
yeah.
I think you've seen that in the recent fires too, those are, devastating to especially those Sandhills ranchers and everybody else too, but you've seen how Nebraskans really stick together, and those ranchers, I may have lost all of my land and you may have lost all of your land too, but we're going to help each other out. So I think that is really, really cool about the state of Nebraska and the community that we have across the state is how, people from northeast Nebraska or eastern Nebraska have been sending, I've seen those videos of tons of hay bales going to western Nebraska to help those out. So I just think that is really, really powerful.
Yeah, we truly help our neighbors. We don't just say it, and we are Nebraska nice, for sure.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
yes. So for students that are considering the Engler program, what is some advice that you would give to them about, their first walks up those steps and maybe having their first experiences here in the program?
Yes, I think, my biggest advice would be to not be nervous about not having a brand new business idea. I think it can be really intimidating, especially that first year in Engler, because they show you all of these really cool businesses that have come out of Engler and all of these seniors that are going to go start their business full time and all of these things. You're like, oh, shoot, I need to come up with a business myself, which, is encouraged, obviously, but I think it's okay to take your time. Not everybody starts a business while they're in college. Maybe it's something that happens 5-10 years down the road. So I think that's an important mindset to have, too, to not maybe get overwhelmed with the stress of finding a business. You want to make sure you're really passionate about and something that you want to do, rather than just starting a business because you feel like you have to.
Yeah, I love that. And if you were to talk about a favorite space that you have in the Engler program, whether it's the table or a classroom, what would it be?
I would say the lookout room is maybe one of my favorite spaces. For a couple different reasons. One, that was my first Engler class. That's where the 101 class was held, and I always left there feeling so inspired. Tom Field is just so inspiring. Every time I hear him talk, I'm like, wow, I could just take on the world.
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed that class, and, it was my first Engler experience, and had a lot of fun there. And then I also had a Bible study there a couple of years ago, so it was kind of fun to be in the Engler space and then worshiping with some of my East Campus friends as well.
Yeah.
So I liked that. And then, the chairs in there are a fun space to kind of just sit down with others and talk about life too. So
yeah, and it's really just a unique place on campus. You really won't find anything like it anywhere else. And it's a place for connection and learning. And so 20 years from now, what are you going to be most thankful for being a part of the Engler program?
Yeah, I think you said it right there. The connections are something I'm extremely thankful for this program. You are in Engler while you're in college, but really Engler stays with you forever. I think a lot of programs, you're kind of done after college and that's it. You don't really hear from them again. But Engler does such a good job with their alumni and really connecting students with alumni and alumni with alumni and helping them out even after college. So I'm really thankful to have that, knowing that I'll go leave college here and leave the college Engler program as I become an alumni, but it's really rewarding and exciting to know that I have Engler in my corner.
Yes, yes, definitely. There's Engler members spread all across the state of Nebraska, for sure. And so one last question for you. If we were to learn something from horses, what would be something you think people should learn about horses from their personality or how they work with people?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Yeah. No, I think horses teach you really so much. And I think the biggest thing that I kind of think of right away is patience. You know, they are animals, so it takes a lot of patience when working with them, and I'm naturally not the most patient person, so I think that's something that's hard for me, but I think that's something that horses really teach you. You know, you have to be patient with them. You can't just say, okay, this is what we're going to do today, you know, their first day ever having a saddle on. Like, you really have to take it nice and slow and easy and reward them. You know, when they do something good, let them know that they did something good so that they know it's right, too. So it just takes patience to really train a horse and to be a part of their lives.
Yeah, that's something that we can all take into our busy lives, just being a little more patient and just taking everything day by day.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for being here today. I loved hearing more about your story. And if anybody needs some amazing horses, just call Sarah.
Yes,
all right?
absolutely.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
Yes, thank you. It was fun.